Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope everybody's having a great week. And wow, we have a ton to be catching up on with the free agency day two, technically now, because it is 2 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday was pretty crazy too. Wow, we're going to start with my Indiana Pacers, starting with our point guard for the future. And wow, uh, 5 years, $260 million. Looking at about $52 million per year. Could be worth up to 260. So we're wow, that's a lot of money. And the salary cap hasn't went up. So you're looking at about 50 of the 136 million being already spent for one player. That's a hefty contract. By golly, the young man is absolutely phenomenal. I love Tyrese a lot. 20 points, 10 assists on 40% on three pointers. First person in NBA history to do that. He's a phenomenal player. It's just the contract is not bloated right now, to an extent, because this past year he got hurt towards the end of the season. The year that we traded for him, he got hurt. Technically, we probably purposely pulled him so we can go and get some good draft picks for the draft, but has a lot of money for one player. But I do love this move. We also have Victor Oladipo going back to Oklahoma City Thunder for draft compensation and $9 million to his expiring contract. Derrick Rose going to the Memphis Grizzlies for 2 years. I like that. Now you can have Marcus Smart either come off the bench. Actually, they'll probably have Derrick Rose come off the bench. Marcus Smart start at the point guard. And then you have Desmond Bane, who just signed a 5-year, $207 max contract. So you're looking at about $40 million for him. Yeah, $207 million for Desmond Bane. So you got Desmond Bane at the point, shooting guard, Marcus Smart at point. For now, while John Moran's suspended for 25 games, they're going to probably try to get themselves a nice little small forward. They might end up trying, for the life of me, Zaire Williams. I like him, and they might have him start at the small forward. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. at power forward, and then continue to have Steven Adams at center, which hurt them a lot this past playoffs. That he was hurt. Got also Osha Brissett. We lost him to the Boston Celtics, which is good. He didn't get enough minutes to play with us. He was looking tremendous for us, but I'm glad to see him get the opportunity to maybe go get some more playing minutes. Then he was starting to fall down the list of minutes because we were going even younger. Well, technically he was about the same age as about our players right now. Just give him some more opportunity because them losing Marcus Smart hurt them a lot. You have Dennis Schroeder going to the Toronto Raptors. Like what Adrian Wojnarowski says, that replace him quickly, luring Schroeder to the Raptors. It's not a bad move. Then you have Schroeder, Gary Trent Jr. You still have OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes. More likely, Scotty Barnes will probably be coming off the bench for now. And then Yorker Portal going to starting at the center, and then Pascal Siakam at the 4. Van Vliet going to the Raptors is huge. I like him at the point guard. You still have Jalen Green. The question is the small forward position. They're going to try to trade away Kenyon Martin Jr. I like to see Kenyon Martin Jr. go play for his Pop's old team, the Brooklyn Nets. That'd be a great pickup for them. Have him at the 4 would be pretty cool. Or have him go to the Nuggets would be really nice. But they'll probably do a package of Kenyon Martin Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. because Kevin Porter Jr. is not going to want to come off the bench. After being a starter, he's not really going to want to stay with this team, no matter what team he goes to, because of how big the guard positions already been filled for a lot of the teams. He probably will still have to come off the bench, but he doesn't want to come off the bench for the Rockets. And so he'll probably get packaged with Ken Martin Jr. Scrolling down to see, this was a really decent contract for the New Orleans Pelicans. 4-year, only $154 million, so you're looking at roughly $13 million a year for Herb Jones. If it would have been 4-year, 44, it would have been $11 million a year. But that 54 is that was a great pickup for them. I love Herb Jones, or not pickup, but extending his contract was huge. 2 years for $10 million for Shake Milton. That was not a steal, but that was a great pickup for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I love Shake Milton. He fell so far down the list of playing time behind Tyrese Maxey, Ben Simmons, D'Anthony Melton, and eventually they replaced Ben Simmons with James Harden, but the guard minutes, he just didn't get enough time to play for that. So I love him going to Minnesota. Nice two-way guard for them. Joe Ingles is going to bring that right veteran leadership. He has that right, a little bit of everything about his game. Good playmaking forward. They can play the 3 and 4 a lot. He has a great three-point shot. Slow as molasses. Good defender because he stops the momentum of the other player trying to play offense. He has that kind of right IQ about defense, but a faster player might blow by him. But I do love this pickup for Orlando because he's a great veteran that can play off ball but can play on ball and let the guards be able to go and get their open shot for a 3. So I do love him going to the Orlando Magic. That's a good pickup right there. Trey Jones, 2 year, not pick up, but an extension. Trey Jones, 2 year, $20 million, only $10 million a year. That's not a bad one. This was interesting. A big, massive contract for Cam Johnson, 4 year, $108 million. So roughly about $27 million a year. It's actually really not bad for what he brings. I guess Ken Martin Jr. might. I forgot all about Cam Johnson earlier. I guess Cam Martin Jr. can go to another team. Because I like Cam Johnson at the 4 more than the 5. Whereas I would say Cam Martin Jr. at the 4, Cam Johnson at the 5, but Nicholas Claxton had a pretty good season this year. I like him at the 5 more than Cam Johnson just because how big Nicholas Claxton is. He's a good defender, good rebounder, so I guess Cam Martin Jr. gets packaged with Kevin Porter Jr. goes to another team. I don't know which of. This is just my initial reaction of this massive day 1 and we're going already into day 2 with some big news. And I want to really talk about Tyrese, but we'll just continue a little bit more. Yorker Portal, 4 year, $80 million, so $20 million a year. He's back with Toronto. Started his career with Toronto, went to the Spurs, came back to Toronto in a trade. That's a good contract. He is a good defending center. Consistency in Yorker Portal that he can start at the center. Siakam starts 4 now. They might trade him eventually. Have Scotty Barnes at the 4 instead. They might actually have Scotty Barnes at the 3. Pascal Siakam at the 4. Gary Trent Jr. at the 2 and Dennis Schroeder at the 1. There's all sorts of possibilities for the Raptors. I think eventually they will probably trade away Pascal Siakam, try to rebuild around Scotty Barnes. 3 year, $102 million, so about 30. What would that be? $34 million a year for Chris Middleton. So he did take a lesser pay. He took about $6 million less for this upcoming year, but he extended the amount of time that he is going to be playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. Instead of just 1 year left, he declined it. He accepted 3 years, took $6 million less, so that's good for them. I like Middleton staying with this squad with Drew Holiday and Giannis, with Brook Lopez as a defensive minded player now. For now, I don't know how long that'll last. I don't know if he'll go into next year or not, but great solid team for the Bucks. 3 years, $26 million for George Niang. He is he's a great player. He's been he was solid with the Pacers. We didn't really give him the opportunity to really get a lot of minutes to play, either the 3 or the 4, but he played tremendous for the Cleveland Cavaliers, not Cleveland Cavaliers, but the 76ers. In doing so, you got him playing now for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who can possibly start at the 3, because that's been their most needed position as the 3. Okoro did not blossom into a good offensive player. His defense is elite. Cedi Osman hasn't really panned out that much, so this fills in that 3 that they've been desperately needing. A great 3-point shooter, decent to good defender. So I love George Niang going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Got Javon Carter, 3 year, $20 million, filling the gap for Lonzo Ball for now until Lonzo comes in and starts to get a little bit healthier. I like Javon Carter. He's a good point guard that'll eventually start coming off the bench. Only $7 million a year, not even $7 million, 6 point something million dollars a year. I'll take Javon Carter going to the Bulls. Me Too agrees on a 1 year deal with the Suns. Again, is filling in those bench players because they've already almost exceeded the salary cap. And then there's talks that James Harden might end up going to the Suns, but there are talks of James Harden going to the Clippers with Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Those 4 are going to be just terrifying if that becomes the case. Troy Brown has agreed to a deal with Minnesota Timberwolves. Nice little guard. I don't mind it. He did pretty well for the Lakers. I mean, a deal that doesn't specify how long, how much. When it's those kind of numbers, it tends to be not a significant contract. It's not going to be 3 years, this amount of money. It's going to be like maybe 1, at the most of 2 years for like $8 million. It's going to be really cheap if they're not specifying how much. Trailblazers are in agreement with Jeremy Grant for 5 year, $160 million for 30. What would that be? $32 million a year. That's not bad. I like him going back to the Blazers. Now it definitely shows that they are wanting to keep. They were wanting to keep Damian Lillard. And we're gonna get down to business about the very next trade here in a minute, but not trade, but the signing here in a minute. But the question mark is Damian Lillard. Now, it was the question mark with Damian Lillard, but this signing is showing that they're committed to keeping Damian Lillard. They're wanting to desperately keep Damian Lillard. Now you got to fill in those right spots. You're going to have Scoot Henderson coming off the bench. You have Shane Sharp at the 3. Jeremy Grant at the 4. Right now, Yusuf Nurkic at the 5. Fernie Simons probably starts. And then Damian Lillard starts also. So they're filling in the much needed roster, just questioning the longevity of how long the Trailblazers stay with Damian. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe possibly trade him at the trade deadline sometime in the season if things aren't panning out well enough. Oh boy. This was like the last one I really wanted to really talk about is Bruce Brown coming to my Indiana Pacers 2-year, $45 million, making roughly $22 million a year. Limited what it could pay, loses a key piece to its hopes. That's Denver specifically. They lost a key piece to its repeat hopes. That it's a 1 year, $22 million, and if he has not kept up this kind of level that he did in the playoffs, in the championship run, that second year is a team option that we could just say, hey, you didn't really help us elevate our game. Not have us just not be a play-in team, but be a playoff team, be like a top 5 seed. To spend $22 million, that's a lot of money for technically a role player. He was not a Nikola Jokic, he wasn't Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., KCP. He's on the same level as KCP, where he's going to hit threes, he's going to play great defense, he's going to fit in what it takes to win a championship. But he isn't that next level, and to spend $22 million, which technically in today's time, $22 million really isn't much. $22 million, well, with the salary cap wars, it really isn't much to spend that much. But with everybody being already at the salary cap, there's only a handful of teams: Detroit Pistons, the San Antonio Spurs, the Houston Rockets, which actually Houston Rockets just spent $30 million of it. There's a lot of teams that are already at the cap, if not over the cap, and so it's kind of a good contract, but it's kind of like it's a lot of money at the same time. But I love Bruce Brown as a player. I love him as a player. Do I love him on the Pacers? We already have so many guards. Buddy Hield, Bennedict Mathurin. We just traded away Duarte. We have T.J. McConnell. Tyrese Haliburton, who we just signed a significant contract extension. That's rough. I like Bruce Brown, but that's a lot of money, and I guess with that kind of money, it'll probably start maybe at the 2, and then we've been having Buddy Hield at the 3. I don't like him at the 3, but we might have Tyrese at the 1, Bruce Brown at the 2, Buddy Hield at the 3, Jarvis Walker at the 4, and Miles Turner at the 5. We might mix and match with Bruce Brown and Buddy Hield in certain lineups where we might have Buddy Hield at the 2 and then Bruce Brown at the 3. But more than likely, with that kind of contract that we signed him to, he's going to probably start, I would hope, and not just come off the bench. Like with Jalen Smith, it was only $9 and $5 million. That kind of contract says, hey, if you play amazingly enough, you might be able to come start for us, which we did allow him to come start for us right after we traded for him, but he kind of took a step back. $5 million, you can have some bench playing time, cool. $22 million, you're a starter, and we need you to play starter minutes and have that starter kind of stat line for 22 million. That's a lot of money, but he might help us get to that next level. I would love it. I would love to see us go from the 7th pick in the draft last year, a 6th pick, to being a playoff team. I would love it. That would be huge. We have a good bench. I would love to see the Pacers. We have about $14 million left in salary cap. Maybe spend 10 of it, get us a nice little role player that can come off the bench that can help us get that spark with Benedict Mathurin, which he'll probably not start, unfortunately, with this Bruce Brown contract. Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Isaiah Jackson for now, which I think he'll probably get traded, so that way we can get a bigger contract, spend $10 million, have that $14 million, and then trade probably Isaiah Jackson, try to get a nice little role player or somebody that can start the 3. We might trade Isaiah Jackson and Buddy Hield for a player that's going to fill in that 3 spot more so than a Buddy Hield, and then have Bruce Brown at the 2, Tyrese at the 1, somebody at the 3, Jarrell Walker at the 4, Miles Turner at the 5. There's a lot to take in about my Pacers. It's interesting. There's talks of us trading for Tobias Harris. I don't like that. It's rough. I don't like the idea of trading for Tobias Harris in that contract. It's a pretty hefty contract. He's a great player. I think he just had an opportunity to get the right amount of shots, but we already have a young roster that's going to have to get their shots, so he might just fall back into only getting so many shots per game. That's a big contract that we would take on if we were to do so, but let's do a couple more and then I will end this video. Damian Lee, I like him going back to the Suns. Again, cheap contract. Here's another cheap contract. 2-year, $5 million for Keita Bates-Diop, who dropped 30? It might have been even 40. Was it 50? Somewhere like a huge. Was it 30? I want to say it was 30. He dropped 30 on the Lakers. He tore him up a new one. I like Keita Bates-Diop. He was on the Timberwolves and then went to the Spurs, and now he's on the Suns. So I like Keita Bates-Diop. Woo! Kobe White. Kobe, not Colby. Kobe White going back to the Bulls. Good contract for a 6-man. Who was it? Somebody. Javon Carter. They might start. They might start Kobe White for now. With him already knowing the system so well, I like Kobe White probably starting, and then if he's not doing well enough as the point guard, they might slide Javon Carter at the 1. So the Bulls also signed Vucevic to a pretty good sized contract, 3 years, $60 million, $20 million a year. So they're still at that peak of that salary cap range. Kyle Kuzma, I'll do one more. Going back to the Washington Wizards for a 4-year, $102 million. I like Kyle Kuzma a lot. He's a great player. I don't know what's going on in my house. I'll have to look at it after this video. I like Kyle Kuzma a lot. He filled in that spot at the 4 a lot for the Washington Wizards. He has consistently been getting 20 points this year for the Washington Wizards, and he's going to continue to play for Washington Wizards with him and Jordan Poole. They got some great Billo Kolobi. He's a good guard that will eventually probably start. And they just have a great roster. It's going to take a couple years for them to be back into the playoffs, but they have the right amount of depth that maybe a year or two from now, they go and get themselves a nice a couple players in the draft in this upcoming year, and they might be right back into the playoffs with a Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, and a couple of other good young players in the upcoming draft. But I really just wanted to get into. Let's see if we can find this young man right here. This is the one I was really wanting to talk about. That, like, I was flipping through Bleacher Report, and I was like, "What? Tyrese, Mac?" Because they were talking that he's going to get $200 million. I was like, "Oh wow, that's going to be a good chunk of money." And then I went and turned on OBS, flipped on Twitter, and Adrian Wojnarowski's like, "Oh, make that $260 million, which could be up to $260 million. There's it's probably $60 million roughly that's in incentives, making an All NBA, being an All Star, leading in assists in the NBA in the league. There's probably several incentives into that contract, but he's our future. He's only 23 years old. He's young. He has the potential to be one of the best guards in the league. I just like to see him just continue to play that he's playing now, just maybe get a little bit better on defense. I guess he did get a vote for all defensive. He got one vote for it. I was like, I mean, he averaged a block a game and a steal and a half, I think, a game. So he's a good defender, not a great defender. That body size of him is 6'4"? I think he's either 6'3". I want to say in my head he's 6'3", but I think he's like an inch shorter than Bennett Mathurin. We have a lot of 6'5". Well, we had a lot of 6'5" players like a Duarte. Buddy Hield 6'5". Bennett Mathurin 6'5". We have a lot of 6'5" players, so I want to say he's an inch or two shorter, but 6'3" is a pretty good size for a point guard. Now then, like a Ben Simmons, doesn't even play minutes, but he's going to be a good player for the future, and I love us locking him down for the next 5 years. That this contract won't start applying till not this upcoming year because it's still on the cheaper contract, but the contract or the next off season is where the contract starts. So we still have wiggle room. It's not going to apply for this off season, so we still have $14 million in cap space. Next season's where the contract starts to dip into our salary cap. But with all that being said, guys, leave your comments down below. Who's your favorite team, and what players have signed with your team? What players have left your team? What players would you like to see sign with your team? What players are being speculated that might sign with your team that you don't really want on your team? For me, is not a player that is speculated for us to sign, but a player that we might be trading for as Tobias Harris that I just don't really want. But with all that being said, guys, I'm in this video right here, and I'll talk to you guys later.